So you're a combat vet. You served in Iraq. I am not a combat vet. I've served in hostile areas where there was, Taliban, and I did one trap mission, but I wanted to talk to you because sometimes I feel like sometimes we get caught up in who's a combat vet, who's not a combat vet. One thing the Marine Corps does when they say that they do this, and they really do it. They train like how they fight. And even when I was at Camp Pendleton, there was an instructor who drowned in the pool. There was a helicopter that went down. There was a truck that went off a cliff. A buddy of mine was on the 11th MEU, and he was in Djibouti, Africa, where I actually was 2 years later, doing a live fire drill. Unfortunately, somebody had put a, a reflective uh, something that reflected in the dark. I think it was basically the same color as the targets, and unfortunately, he got shot and killed. It is rigorous. It's a rigorous lifestyle. It's not to be downplayed. There's no combat is its own thing. Obviously, incredible respect to that, but it's not hot and cold. It's not like you're a combat vet, and if you weren't, you were just chilling. Like I always try to explain people what it's like in terms of being in the Marine Corps. Obviously, I'm doing it from a corpsman point of view. They train really, really hard. It is not an easy lifestyle, and because sometimes especially civilians, and this always
So
pisses
that's
pisses
the
me
thing,
off. They really try to dismiss. Did you go to combat? And for me, I don't care, but for other people, especially who worked a lot harder than me, who cannot just dip out like docs like to dip out sometimes, but we're there, and in the field, 2 weeks. It could be Camp Pendleton, it could be somewhere else, it could be the 29 Palms, who are training. I mean, I remember we were doing training in Africa, and the first week I lost 10 pounds, and it was rigorous. And I remember because South Sudan at the time was having a civil war, and we were supposed to go. All month long, we slept with our weapons, and in the middle of the night, we're being woken up. We're saying that we're going to go. We're going to go. We're going to the the airstrip, waiting for transport. Helicopters are on, and we're not going. We're not going. Go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. The next day, training, training, training. You go back to where you're staying. You try to get some sleep. Suddenly you're woken up again in the middle of the night. You get your weapon. You're putting on your paint, your face paint. You get your gear. You're waiting again. For the bird. And oh, we're not going. We're not going. It's still a very stressful existence, and it's still a lot of hard work. Um, I don't think people can really understand what that lifestyle is like.
so in my 20 odd years, I got ready to go to combat several times. One time we're deployed to Korea. We're up by the DMZ, in a little area called Unshan. And, every time the UN forces, the American forces, and South Korean forces would do a training exercise, the North Koreans would do a corresponding training exercise in the North. Well, when they did that, usually it would be the same number of people. So if we had 1,000, they'd have 1,000. If we had 2,000, they'd have 2,000. And it was this sort of understanding, this gentleman's agreement between both sides that that's how it would go. Well, we're sitting there and we set up for this bear hunt. And we're there and we're deployed and we've got our 1,000 guys or so. And the intelligence comes back and says, "Hey, wait a minute, they've got 5,000 guys. They're setting up to have more guys than us."
Mhm.
Which intelligence and the higher ups start going, "Wait a minute, that's not normal. They may be preparing to do something."
Right, right.
And so we're sitting there, and we're a FSG, we're a field support group, or MLG, Marine Logistics Group, and so we've got females in our unit, and this is back in the '80s, and back then females weren't allowed to be in combat, period, at
Right.
all. And so now our command is going, okay, we're going to have to take all these females out of the jobs that they're in right now, and we're going to have to evacuate them to either someplace further south or even all the way back to Okinawa. And I'm sitting there, as a young Marine going, wait a minute, nothing's even happening. I'm going to lose 3 Marines.
Yeah.
We're already shorthanded and we're going to lose 3 people. And so, that was one of the things that annoyed me when I was younger. And, you know, these days people talk about equality and who's allowed in the military and who's not allowed in the
Yeah.
military. And, it's like, hey, if somebody wants to do what you and I did, and they want to put their life on the line and they want to serve their country, find them something that they can do. I don't care what
Yeah.
it is. If it's counting paper clips or, moving widgets from one spot to another because they want to serve, let them serve,
Yeah.
because that's what we want. We want people to serve that want to serve. And then later on, I was with division, and we're sitting there and we're at Camp Pendleton, and division at Camp Pendleton. There's 3 regiments: First Marines, Fifth Marines, and Seventh Marines, and each one of those regiments rates a platoon of military police. Well, my
Yeah.
company, that's supposed to have 3 platoons, has 1 platoon. So whenever First Marines goes and does any training and they want their MPs, we all go. Fifth Marines does it, we all go. Seventh Marines
Yeah.
does it, we all go. And so at this one time, Seventh Marines were preparing to go into Southwest Asia. I can't remember if it was Iran or Iraq or wherever. And so we're staging our gear. We're trying to get it ready to go to Iraq, Southwest Asia, and then North Korea starts acting funny. So the Fifth
Huh.
Marines, they're tasked with going there, and they want their platoon. So now we're staging gear to go to the cold weather Korea or the hot weather desert, and we don't know which one we're going to go to. And both of those units wanted to check our equipment and check us out to make sure that we're ready for this and that. And it's like we're juggling everything, trying to get everything together. We're sending off our heavy weapons to be checked out by their armorers to make sure that they're
Yeah.
combat ready. And one unit comes back and goes, "Yeah, none of your weapons can go to combat.
Oh
They're all
man.
they're all they're all junk." The other unit's like, "Yeah, these weapons are all good to go. We'll load them up on this," and we're like, "Okay, great." And we got so far as loading everything up, driving our Humvees out to 29 pounds, and sitting on the runway to be loaded on planes to go. I can't remember if
Right.
it was Korea or Southwest Asia or wherever, but we're sitting there and we could see off to the side, we could see the ammo techs sitting on a pile of ammunition, ready
Yeah.
to break it out and issue it to us, so we could go. And that was the longest day of my life. I mean, you get there at 0 dark 30, and you're sitting out there on the flight line and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
And then, it comes down. It's like, oh, go back to Camp Pendleton. We're done. You
Yeah.
know,
But all of that is stressful, and all of that is it takes its toll on you. So to dismiss it as, well, it wasn't combat. Marines train how they fight. They're unique in this. So I wrote this down. The War Powers Resolution Act of 1973. So the president basically has 90 days to engage any situation in the world using the military without congressional approval.
right.
It's the Marine Corps that the president will use. It's
But that War Powers Act allows the president to use the Marine Corps without congressional approval at
that's
any
what I mean.
time,
Like,
anywhere, for any
yeah,
period of time.
yeah, he doesn't even have to mention it for like I think 48 hours or something. Don't quote me on that, but
Yeah.
that's what makes the Marine Corps so different. And I'm speaking from at the time as an outsider, right? I joined the Navy, and you get there and you realize, somebody had told me this, some Marine, instructing this boot Navy guy. Um, it, it changes your mindset when you know as a Marine, president could say we're going somewhere. Anything could pop off at any time, and within like 72 hours, you're there. You're you're storming the beach, so to speak. Like that changes the way you exist.